The sophomore quarterback drops back, floats into the end zone, and it's intercepted. Brisker! Wow! Brisker! What a game! Penn State!
Hello and welcome to Trading Twos, a Penn State football podcast. I am Ryan Parsons. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Will Pegler. And Will, Penn State reportedly is an Adidas school now.
Yeah, man, still alleged at the time of recording this, Wednesday night at about 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're still alleged, but yeah, Tuesday, this report came out. I think it was On3 who had it, that Penn State is making a move to be sponsored by Adidas across the board. This goes for, other than football, I think we can expect this to go for all athletic programs if it does go through, pending this board of trustees vote, I believe is the latest. Which would be 31 teams. But anyway, yeah, I mean, people are upset. People are disappointed. I get why. Penn State, I feel like maybe not as much our era. We're a little younger, but Joe Pa and a lot of those teams were synonymous with Nike. His, obviously, the black shoes with the Nike swoosh. And kind of just like that vibe of 30 plus years of Penn State and Joe Paterno and Phil Knight being buddies. It's been a historic thing. So it is a big switch. I don't know. What do you think? My initial vibe is people are making a bigger deal about it than I think it actually is. But you go.
Yeah. When this news broke Tuesday, it was such a random thing to drop. It wasn't like a where were you moment, like when the Luka trade happened or anything like that, but it was so out of left field. When Tennessee switched to Adidas a few weeks ago, might have even been a month ago, I was kind of following that. I wrote a story on Black Shoe Diaries about it. And it was interesting because Tennessee was kind of the first school to enter into a new framework with Adidas where they're getting a lot of money per year, but a lot of that money is set aside specifically for NIL, which is important because with this new model with NIL where schools can only pay all their athletic teams $20.5 million a year, there needs to be other ways to inject NIL money into the program. And the Tennessee deal was reportedly, I think On3 had it at anywhere between $10 and $20 million a year for a 10-year deal, which is ludicrous. And I would expect, honestly, Penn State to be there, if not more. So I'm with you. It was shocking, but the upside to this seems to far outweigh the negatives where it might just be an initial shock where people are upset. And the old thing for the whole arms race in college football was facilities, and Penn State was behind the eight ball on that for so long. And I think if they were to fall behind the eight ball again in this new second NIL era with revenue sharing, it would be a mistake. So I think if the reporting is true and the money is there, this is a good move.
Yeah, agreed. I agreed with you on a couple of fronts. It's weird it came in season in the middle of the week. I would think Pat Kraft and the rest of the athletic department and Neely Bendapudi, president of the university, would not want that to happen. Who knows? I mean, that maybe the deal had been in talks for a long time and that's how it played out. And that's obviously not a huge detail in it. To your second point, though, about Tennessee, I've seen that same number, $10 to $20 million. I think it's being reported anywhere between that. If Tennessee's getting that, I mean, Penn State's a bigger brand than Tennessee. Like, it just is. So what is Penn State's deal worth? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think Pat Kraft is going to settle for second place behind Tennessee either, especially with the shock value of moving away from Nike. Like, it's going to have to be something hefty.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think totally. So I mean, look, I think, I guess just getting into the reaction of it, I don't know, I'm kind of fired up about it, I guess, as you can tell, just based on a couple of reactions that I've seen. A lot of people I've seen are talking about, like, and I think you shared a tweet with me, Ryan, about, is this going to hurt Penn State in recruiting because they were so synonymous with the Nike brand? A lot of people think the Nike brand is cooler than the Adidas brand. I think that's objectively true. But to your point about the money thing, like, this is going to be a huge influx of cash for James and the program to use, and other teams, but for James and football to use primarily, and the transfer portal, and obviously recruiting as well. So I think that sort of evens things out. Like the vibe of Adidas, not as good, but the cash they're getting and they're going to be able to use is huge. So I think that's one thing, and I think that's a huge point of it.
I think this is a change that people are going to get over and get used to very fast.
Yeah.
I think Pat Kraft is smart enough to protect the integrity of Penn State's brand in terms of jersey. Like, I don't think the jersey is going to change that drastically. I don't think things are going to look that crazy different. It might literally just be the Adidas logo instead of the Nike logo. And yeah, dude, like Adidas low aura compared to Nike, like obviously. But the tweet you're referencing where the guy DM'd a bunch of recruits and asked their thoughts on Nike versus Adidas, basically like in terms of aura, is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
but AJ Brown did say he like didn't go to a certain school because their shoes were black and Ole Miss's were white. So like maybe there is some truth to it, but you're gonna if you miss out on a recruit because they want to go to a Nike school, like
Wait, did AJ Brown almost go to Penn State?
no, it was a different SEC school. I forget who. It might have been Alabama.
I was gonna say he's a Southern guy. I thought that's funny. Yeah, man. So I think there's that. I think excuse me. I think that was a lot of the initial take, which I get. Like that was my initial reaction too. I was like, oh, Adidas sucks compared to Nike. Like that's not cool, which is totally fair. The other thing that I want to bring up that is annoying me most is a lot of people that are like devastated by this, that are saying like, oh, like Joe was synonymous with Nike. These old pictures of Kajana Carter and Kerry Collins repping Nike jerseys during that famous '94 season. All agreed. That was awesome, and that's part of Penn State's brand. But Penn State just made another huge decision a couple months ago that totally impacted their brand, theoretically. And a lot of those same people that are now complaining about this, in my opinion, were the ones being like, why are you crying about adding West Shore home fields at Beaver Stadium? BJ Wurzen gave $50 million. This is a positive. Everybody's just going to keep saying Beaver Stadium. Well, same thing. Penn State is, to your point, Ryan, Penn State's not bringing out like a pink and black alternate football jersey all of a sudden. The tradition is still there. It's still Penn State. Frustrated by people, because I probably was one of the people, I was more sad about the naming rights to Beaver Stadium getting sold than this change. And I think you feel that way too. So I just found it really interesting and kind of annoying that people were picking and choosing what traditions they get annoyed about that get impacted. Because anyway, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like if I were to pick a random school in the SEC or the Big Ten and ask you who their jersey sponsor was, you would have no idea probably, unless it was like one of the iconic brands. Where you open up College Football 26 and Reese Davis is saying West Shore home at field at Beaver Stadium. It's like that is a bigger impact, and that's going to be there for 15 years. When this is a 10-year deal for probably more money and probably has less of a branding impact. And yeah, dude, every time I see it, I feel like every week a beat reporter goes to Beaver Stadium, there's a new picture of the West Shore home logo somewhere around the field or the stadium. So
Right.
I'm with you on this. No disrespect to West Shore home.
West Shore home field, Metropolis, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And
I appreciate the money.
We wanted to open by talking about the Adidas stuff because it's the big news. So I don't want to make this about the stadium name change. I just think like these are two really significant brand changes. And it's just interesting that people seem to be more upset about this than the name change. Maybe I'm wrong, but my feed, like a lot of the like well-known Penn State fans that I follow, were more upset about this, I thought, than the name change, which is really interesting because I know, because their argument for the name change, I think I already said this, was that nobody's actually going to say West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium, which is correct from like a fandom perspective. But BJ Wurzen, our boy, that guy replies to tweets and says, actually, it's West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium. So, like, in respect to BJ Wurzen, he gave $50 million. He's the CEO. So, like, I'm not here to hate on him either. But I'm just saying, like, there is change and people are going to be like rattled and upset about it. So I think the name change is a much bigger deal than the jersey change, but is what the segment is about. I was feeling kind of annoyed about that. I texted you before and I wanted to make sure we talked about that. So, yeah.
Dude, for the price tag that's reported around this, James Franklin should get the Adidas logo tattooed on his forehead. Like, seriously.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. And I think the other, Audrey Seider actually made this point, and I will give her credit for it, but I was thinking about it too. To your point about Tennessee Tennessee's deal being worth so much, and now what does this mean Penn State's deal is worth? Penn State was not the most prominent Nike school. Like there were schools that come to mind ahead of Penn State. There just were. They're the most prominent Adidas school. I wrote down a couple. Obviously, Tennessee, Nebraska, Miami, but Miami is not what it once was. Indiana, A&M, Arizona State. So Penn State is kind of like, I guess they're not joining as cool of a group, but now they're like top dog. So maybe this could be also result in some cool national branding opportunities. Who knows? By the end of this podcast, I might turn this into a positive.
And, if Penn State gets kind of an edge over Tennessee with the amount of money they get or their deal, that might be a little bit of Big Ten SEC thing going on. So that's kind of an important thing too for Penn State establishing itself as a powerhouse. And also, if this is the last year that's in Nike and they win the national championship, that's a great way to kind of end the Nike era. And then the James Franklin national championship winning head coach era will be in Adidas. Again, getting about 4 months ahead of ourselves here, but
Didn't even think about that.
the Nike era isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
It could, but things change and then you kind of just forget about how things used to be pretty fast.
Yeah. So I didn't even think about the national championship angle. But yes, exactly. Penn State became a Pepsi campus in the 90s, and everybody freaked out about that. And now they just are. So I don't know. I think net is, I get it. It's going to look weird, but it's going to look weird having Adidas logo on Penn State's jerseys and Adidas shoes. It's going to look weird, but the jerseys aren't changing. Basic blues, black shoes, all that stuff. Because if they start wearing white Adidas shoes, that'd be crazy. I don't think that's
Be kind of fire.
Just
Would be kind of fire.
Well, they're allowed to wear white shoes now when they do.
They do with the generations of greatness.
Yes, yeah, generations of greatness. Yeah. So, but anyway, just to put a bow on it, I found it interesting that people had this calm take about the name changes and making fun of people that were bothered by that to the naming rights of the stadium, but freaking out about this jersey thing. So interesting. That's all.
I'm with you, man. And
Yeah.
to put a bow on the bow, Penn State cannot afford to fall behind on NIL the same way it did when it first broke out now in the revenue sharing era. So good for Pat Kraft for hopping on this. Good for James Franklin for hopping on this, although he denied to comment on it at today's presser, which he absolutely should have denied to comment on it. But today's presser, which was about FIU, Penn State's next opponent. 13 minutes into this, let's talk about FIU. But actually, I think we would have some things to wrap up about Nevada before we move on to FIU.
All good, dude.
All respect to the Panthers.
I don't even think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have a ton to say about FIU at this point anyway. So it's all good. Bars to what you said about the NIL thing. They can't afford to fall back again. Credit to Pat Kraft. Credit to James. Credit to Neely. I don't know how much he was involved in it. Anyway, we can be done with it now. But yes, to your point about Nevada thoughts that maybe any leftover takes from Nevada. I think my first one, then I was just listening back, thinking about anything we didn't talk about. Shout out Ethan Grunkenmeyer. Just this stat line, 7 for 9 passing, 94 yards, or he was 7 for 9 passing, but led a 94-yard scoring drive that he capped off with a touchdown run. Looked super calm, super comfortable. And James even actually said after the game, either on day of or on Monday, that Grunk actually looked better in the game than he did in practice, which to me is a positive because the guy, he just wanted to get out there and take some licks, take some pops. He looked awesome to me. So I wanted to make sure we gave him his flowers.
Yeah, 100%. He looked good. Got Cam Wallace involved in that hurdle play, so that was a cool connection to see. Maybe a little bit of things to see in the future. And I think kind of piggybacking off of that, I think it would be interesting to see how involved he is this week, because I know James mentioned that the Grunk and the Smolik battle is kind of ongoing. And with Smolik being hurt last year, I think he kind of does deserve to get some reps here in a game. But James saying that Grunk looked better than he did in practice was surprising. But I'm happy he said that because, I mean, he looked good. He looked smooth. He looked like, come next year or the year after, Penn State will be in good hands.
Agreed, man. Yeah, it was interesting he said that. I think it's kind of along this trend of James being like weirdly honest and candid during these press conferences, which is new for I think you and I and most fans. Maybe it started to happen towards the end of last year, but I feel like it's kind of a new vibe. yeah, I think that the Grunk stuff was the other really, really big takeaway from Nevada. Also wanted to shout out Matthew Parker, which Ryan and I realized the true freshman from York, Pennsylvania, hit the last extra point in the game. He's 1 for 1. A guy from York, who is a backup kicker. So shout out Matthew Parker.
Not Ryan Barker, but Matthew Parker.
Yes, I know. I didn't even notice because I guess I got so focused on their weird failed 2-point conversion. They were so disgusted with it. They just brought out a new kicker for the last one, which is pretty funny.
So I think that's kind of a bow on Nevada.
Yeah.
Don't want to spend too much time talking about it. It was week 1. It was Nevada. But now we got FIU. Penn State opens as a 42.5-point favorite over the Panthers. They have played one time ever in 2007. They won 59-0. This game didn't exist until kind of recently. This was supposed to be the Penn State Virginia Tech game, which would have been the second installment of the home and home, the first being in Blacksburg in 2020, and then they were going to come back and play here in Happy Valley in 2025. But in all fairness to Virginia Tech, canceled it because it wouldn't be fair for them just to come to our house without us going to theirs. And now we got FIU.
Yeah, man, that was very informative. Geez, I had not know. Excuse me, I did not know they had played before. And I knew, but I did know that FIU was not a great team. Penn State being favored by 42.5 points, I think, is all you need to hear on that point. We can get into it a little bit more, though. I mean, FIU, they opened the season 1-0. They beat Bethune-Cookman 42-9.
I thought that was a high school. I'm not going to lie.
I know,
I saw that box score.
Florida, I think it's a Florida school, but yeah, no, that's not unfair. It's a smaller school, Bethune-Cookman, no disrespect. No, yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. It would have been cool that if it were the Virginia Tech game, I think that would have changed some of the narrative about people complaining about Penn State's non-con schedule, but I guess you could blame COVID. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can get mad at James Franklin again for COVID.
Unprecedented.
But anyway, yeah, man, tough to get mad at him for that one. But yeah, I think I don't see a ton in FIU. I think Keon Jenkins, their quarterback, is all right. And I believe you had a guy on defense you wanted to call out too, but I'm forgetting about him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only calling him out because his name is Brian Blades Jr.
Yes.
His dad, according to the Wikipedia page I just pulled up right now, was a wide receiver for the Seahawks.
Yeah, dude. So I wanted to bring this up. The Blades family, kind of like a legendary Miami football family. His dad, Brian Blades Sr. Have you ever seen the 30 for 30? It's all about the U. With there's a very inappropriate rap song in it that Greg Olson is involved in. But Brian Blades was on that team. What a sick name.
I didn't even know that. I just wrote it down because it's a sick name.
I know. I think
his stats are insane.
I think they're a legendary like Miami kind of football family, which is really cool. I know, and his dad was a good player. So yeah, I'm excited to watch DB Brian Blades play for the FIU Panthers. Anyway, noon kick, which I think is cool. I liked 3:30 last week, but I'm very excited to have a noon kick on Saturday and just like get right into it. You know what I mean?
For sure. The only major thing I have written down here is just we kind of got to avoid a Bowling Green situation from last season.
Yeah.
FIU was 115th on SP+. I mean, say what you want about SP+, but if you're 115th, Penn State should be 42.5-point favorites. And I think the Bowling Green game last year kind of flipped the narrative after the West Virginia game where it was like, wait, maybe this team is actually terrible. They weren't, but for a second, it was like it kind of all came crashing down. So I think outside of the secondary objectives of getting, guys reps and seeing new looks and all that stuff, kind of got to avoid a situation like that first and foremost, because it was week 2 last year, if I remember correctly. So
it was, yeah, man. I was actually there, and it was horrible vibes for 3 quarters. It actually was. I mean, the defense couldn't stop anything, which was bizarre. I will say the difference there was that was the first home game in Beaver Stadium, so I think guys hadn't got those kind of Beaver Stadium playing in front of a big crowd. Some of the younger guys, they didn't get those jitters out of the way yet. I believe another issue was Kobe King, the linebacker who had the coaches come on. He couldn't hear Tom Allen because Beaver Stadium was too loud. I don't know if you remember that. So that they weren't, and you could actually notice when you're on the field. This is a tangent, but like they weren't getting the plays in time on defense, and Bowling Green got, I'm sorry, Penn State got kind of sliced by Bowling Green for a sec, and that tight end they had, no, I'm forgetting. He was,
Harold Fannin, yeah.
oh yeah, he was better
He's on
than,
the Browns now, I think.
yeah. No, anyway, no disrespect to that guy, but I just remember people saying he's better than Tyler Warren. Anyway, so I think that's a different scenario this year. I think the guys are more prepared to play in the stadium, and just kind of do their thing again this week. Ryan, is there anything, I know we asked this before Nevada, is there anything specific you're looking for Penn State to do?
There is something I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This is the second game of the season. I'm curious to see if they're going to have someone come out of the tunnel with a hammer for delivering the hardest hit in the first game, as they did, I think, last year and the year before. I'm just interested to see if that tradition will return. Because it's always a vibe. See someone coming out of this. I don't know if they did it last year, but we used to look in the press box to kind of snipe who would be the hammer guy, because they would give it out to whoever had the hardest hit the game before. So I don't have anything off the top of my head that would be a candidate from the Nevada game, but I'm excited to see if they bring that back.
I don't lie to you, dude. I did not know about that tradition. That's crazy.
Really?
Yeah,
They might have not done it last year.
That's really interesting. Maybe they did it 2022. So that was my first year off the beat after I graduated. But I don't remember that. That's super cool. Was that a Manny Diaz brainchild? I guess if it was 22, it would have been, right?
You know what, man? It might have been.
Maybe Duke. I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, maybe a bad shout by me, but maybe it's back.
I don't think it's a bad shout. I just didn't know it was a thing. I think that's awesome. I'm trying to think of who would get it. Deny, I feel like remember when Deny tackled the running back on Nevada and he just didn't have the ball, buried that guy. He's probably a good candidate for it.
Yeah, my brain might have actually skipped a few years now that I think about it, but I don't know. Still second week. Maybe there's some sort of tradition that actually Knowles is a pretty old school guy. I don't know if he would do anything like that, but I don't know.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I'll be looking out for it.
He's probably listening. So, hey, Jim, maybe bring back the hammer thing. We can deliver you a hammer. Thanks, buddy.
Maybe make it real.
Yeah.
Like make it a real hammer.
Like a sledgehammer. It's like they grab it from like somewhere on campus. It's like just too heavy.
Yeah, it's like 200 pounds.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, man, I think similar vibes to Nevada. I think we're gonna look for a lot of depth guys to play a role and see who else is going to be a guy later on this year against the bigger teams in the Big Ten and hopefully the playoff. For me, I'm actually going to kind of call back to something we talked about earlier for this weekend. But so James really high on Gronk. We're really high on Gronk after this week. But he has said that the QB2 battle is very close. Like who is Drew's backup is going to be open all year. This isn't something James has done before. But I'd be curious to see if Smolik goes out first instead of Gronk this weekend, just to give him, if Gronk did so well after not doing as well in practice with the in-game reps, why not give Smolik a look in-game? I have no reason to believe he's going to do that other than that he has said it's a really close battle. But to my knowledge, he's never done that at Penn State. I know back when we were freshmen, the backup kind of competition behind Trace was Clifford and Tommy Stevens. So and I feel like they both got time. They didn't necessarily like rotate, but I don't know. It'd be cool, I think, to see Smolik come out first. So that is one thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's a great shout. And especially as Penn State is trying to decide who that would be in a Big Ten game situation, you can only tell so much by practice. And especially if James said he was surprised at how well Gronk played, I think it would be fair to give Smolik some live reps against FIU and see how he does against an actual opponent who isn't wearing the same colors as you.
Right. No, I totally agreed. I think it'd be cool to see. I think he's a year older than Gronk, so even on a seniority status, like why not give him a look too, coming back from injury, to your point. Yeah,
you know what? I mentioned this, I think, last episode or the episode before, but I still think there's a possibility Kotelnicki uses him in that bow roll from last year. And the only reason I say that is because of that weird 2-point conversion thing where he was in instead of Gronk as the backup.
I forgot about that.
So
yeah. I think because he was established as the holder, I think, on place kicks. on extra points and field goals. Which did Bo do that last year? Or no, I think it was might have been Riley Thompson at holder.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know. We're going off the top of our heads here, but either way, could be. Honestly, good point. I didn't even mention Kotelnicki in my take, but maybe Andy will push James to do it. Like, hey, I want to see Jackson get this time.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't seen him play. We might have maybe a snap or two in the past, but I think getting to see what he can do. I mean, I think a lot of people assume he's the more shifty Bo type just because of his high school tape and the way he's built. But I mean, no one really knows, and getting him some live game reps would be interesting.
Yeah. No, agreed. And then on the defensive side of the ball for this weekend, James said on, I believe it was his Monday weekly presser, not a ton of kind of major updates that came out of that other than what kind of a recap of the Nevada game. He did say Zariah Fisher is close and he almost played this past Saturday against Nevada. Do you think we're seeing him this Saturday, Ryan?
I think, yeah, but I think he's going to be on a snap count.
Yeah.
I think they'll try to see how he does live, but if they don't need him and they don't want to risk him aggravating something that's already hurt, they're just going to maybe have him go in there for a few reps. And I think it's interesting that, last game Harvey started as at defensive end outside on the other side of DDS, and him and honestly a lot of the other backups did not really impress. Malachi Williams was the only one who had a tackle, and I'm pretty sure it came in garbage time.
Yeah.
Kemaju recorded a quarterback hurry, but I think that also was in garbage time. So I think that battle is very much ongoing and open, and I think if you're Penn State, you're not super impressed by how those guys behind Zariah played. So I think they'd be anxious to get him back in. But at the same time, I think James is kind of alluding to it's a touch and go thing with his health. And I think that's smart given his history.
Yeah, that last thing he said, given his history. I mean, he obviously had the season-ending injury, didn't even play last year. So why rush it? It sounded like he's ready to go, though. I don't think he has any. We'll see when he's on the field. But based on what James said about him getting to the field on Saturday and being a maybe and pushing it to go, but the coaching staff and the trainers held him back. I feel like mentally he's there. He's ready to go. I don't feel like he's going to have any mental holdbacks in terms of kind of limiting himself physically. But who knows? We'll see. I think it's totally a snap count situation, as you said, or a pitch count, whatever you want to say. But would be cool to see him like get a sack, let's say. I'd be really excited to see that. I think the crowd would erupt. Penn State fans are smart. I think they'd be like, this guy is a guy, didn't get a lot of run last year, but is supposed to be one of the main features of this defense this year. So I'd like to see him do something on Saturday. That'd be fun.
Now that you say that, I'm kind of envisioning a whiteout sack as his return to prominence. That would be kind of electric. But yeah, I mean, he deserves to have a good big role in this defense down the stretch, and if that means holding him out for another week or two just to make sure he's truly 100%, that's the smart move. And I'm sure he's kind of freaking out a little bit about wanting to get back out there. I think Penn State will be smart about it though overall.
Agreed. I think, yeah, don't panic if he's not out there again against FIU is the other thing I'd say. If James is like, hey, we'll give you another week, you can get going against some kids from Nova, or, just get a few plays against Nova, use the bye week, and then Oregon, he's 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the thought process either. In terms of other thoughts ahead of FIU, I'd love to get into our segments a little bit, kind of our ongoing season props. I don't think there's much to flag this week. I don't think. Do we want to count? I didn't talk about this last week. James's weird thing with the refs. That wasn't an awkward media encounter, right? Because it didn't really have to do with the media.
No, but was it a sideline episode?
Nah,
I don't think so.
no, because it's
That's like an internal thing, I think.
Also, don't the sideline episodes have to involve Drew, or did we?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me look back and make sure. I have it as Drew sideline episodes, but we just make it total. However, I don't think this counts. That's kind of
No.
That's just James.
That's just James.
That's just James.
Yeah.
The one I will call out though is Katron. You think he's scoring a touchdown this week or two, and boom.
100%. I mean, he might hit over 7.5 by the whiteout.
Dude, he could score. He could score 3 and boom every single one, and then we are in danger of being
It's over.
like, yeah. I love that actually. If the coaching staff is listening, you're 5 yards and in, give it to Katron.
Yeah, give it to Fat Man.
Yeah,
It would be awesome if him and Nick just hogged every Penn State running back stat line just for years to come, and no one will ever touch them.
it'd be amazing. The fact that 2 guys own it and they were there together the whole time, that would be nuts. We can talk about that more this season, kind of as we watch the stat lines. I know they had slower weeks last week. I don't think that meant anything, to be honest. But yeah, yes, I see Katron scoring at least 1. I see Nick scoring at least 1 too, just because of the fact that this offensive line is so dominant and they're going to have plenty of red zone opportunities.
Yeah. Do you put a lot of stock in them having a slow week last week? Because I think a lot of people were worried, but I honestly didn't even think twice about it.
The fact that James didn't totally calm me down, to be honest. Like I don't know. I mean, look, I get it. Their stats were not great, but they both scored touchdowns. I think the offensive line is still starting the season off, and they didn't even have that many carries. I don't think. I do not think it's any cause for concern. We know what these guys are. You know what I mean? They don't have anything to prove. They had awesome years last year, so I don't think they're going to be pressing these first 3 weeks to make sure they get into a groove, make sure they get enough carries. So no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that wasn't even in like my top 10 takeaways from the game. I think maybe the argument that it is an issue is the Tyler Warren factor, and you're thinking maybe there's a drop off in the run block game, but I don't know. Totally wait until we have more evidence. N equals 1 doesn't really mean anything to me, except for Kyron Hudson being amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I actually one other mention I wanted to make about the passing game that I wanted to look out for this weekend. I know I was super high on the wide receivers. I know everyone was. I would like to predict that Andrew Rappleyea scores a touchdown this weekend because he made a couple really, really nice plays. James talked about him a lot. That makes me think they're going to look to get him in the game and get him one. I think Khalil Dinkins already feels comfortable. I think Reynolds already feels comfortable. Let's get Rappley's confidence up. Let's let him touch pay dirt.
100%.
Yeah.
There was a play in the Nevada game where either him or Reynolds was wide open, and Drew was kind of stuck on the. It was the pass that I think Pena dropped in the end zone. So yeah, let's get the tight ends back involved because there's a lot of talk about it, and would love to see that kind of revved up. And I think to stay on the passing game a little bit before we finish out with check in on our segments, I think Pena and Hudson having 3 good games in a row against these 3 teams would go a long way for offensive confidence.
Totally. I think they don't care who they're playing against. If Drew opens the season and like throws a touchdown, throws a touchdown to each of those guys, Pena gets 1, and then Devontae Ross gets 1 too. That's huge. I think football, and especially on offense, it can be such a mental thing. And especially going into this season, how many eyes are on these guys, it's such a mental thing. So I don't really care if somebody goes off against FIU just because it's FIU. I think what that means for the rest of the season, for their confidence going forward, it could be really big. And even just for them, for knowing that the coaching staff believes in them and is willing to give them the ball. I think it's massive.
Yeah, and kind of just like this isn't last year. Like that wasn't a fluke. Like we're going to do this weekend and a week out sort of thing.
Yeah. No, 100% agreed. Anything else you're kind of looking for going into FIU, or do you want to start talking about freshman snap counts?
No, let's talk about the freshman snap counts.
Let's do it. So honestly, dude, we're pretty close. You and I really liked, and we can talk about this kind of in context of the FIU game because I think we're gonna build on our snaps here. You and I are very top heavy in who we picked. You have Chaz Pullman and Darius Dixon both getting a good amount of snaps against Nevada. I have Kobe Howard and Ivan Kamaju both getting a good amount of snaps on offense and defense separately. You also took LeVar Arrington II and Andrew Olesh, who didn't get any run. And I took Lyric Samuel and Jeff Exenor, 2 wide receivers who didn't get any run. So I think if you're tracking this closely throughout the year, you really only have to pay attention for 2 guys for each Ryan and I. Just because the 2 other, I mean, this gets hard. This is kind of a crapshoot predicting true freshmen. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have stockpiled wide receivers like I did. and you maybe shouldn't have taken the fifth tight end on the depth chart, but that's okay. We're close to each other here. You're at 43 total snaps. I'm at 41.
I should have taken Matthew Parker, dude.
I didn't even think about that. He's a true freshman.
Yeah, dude, I don't think Olesh is going to play a single snap, to be honest with you. I just got caught up in the hype of him being the future and was like, yeah, like he's going to... There was no logic behind it. This is all about my top two guys.
100%.
Coleman and Dixon, I feel amazing about. So I was expecting LeVar the second, honestly, to get some run on special teams. I was surprised he had a big goose egg there, but continue to monitor the situation.
And again, I don't think we need to check in on this segment every week. I just think because of the fact that we're probably going to see a lot more true freshmen against FIU, we might as well talk about it. To your point, I mean, Chaz Coleman is a great pick. I mean, he'll continue to, I mean, James has already said he's going to burn his red shirt. And same thing, I believe, about Darius Dixon. I think those were the two, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, I think they both have the green light.
So you've got two guys that are going to get a lot of run. Coleman had 22 snaps, Dixon had 21. So both these guys, I think, even on special teams too with Dixon, like these guys could get some looks. And I think Coleman is at the top of that list in terms of true freshmen who are going to play, especially as we monitor the Zariah Fisher situation. Coleman seems to be next guy up. If he continues to get his confidence up and play well enough against lower level opponents, then why not put him in against Oregon and see what he can do on a speed rush?
100%. I think to you, I think Kobe Howard might have the green light too. So, same thing there. And then, Yvonne, if it's the same thing with Coleman, if we're monitoring the Zariah Fisher situation, this could be a tight race coming into the bowl season. So I'm excited to keep an eye on this.
It's funny, man. You and I both have defensive ends, just historically with Penn State having such a deep, strong defense. They're already turning to freshmen. I mean, it was Nevada, and this could change throughout the season, so I don't want to overreact. But it's cool. It's cool that we're talking about true freshmen kind of getting double-digit snap counts here already. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor it. I think I'd say each of these guys that got snaps for us are going to again for sure against FIU. The one I'm most excited about for me is Kobe Howard, just because of that wide receiver room. Hudson played awesome, but it still does feel pretty open in terms of who's going to add value there outside of the three transfers. So I'm excited to see Kobe Howard. And then, yeah, defensive line for you and I, Kamaju and Coleman. Let's see what else they can do against a probably not great FIU offensive line.
Let's get Kobe Howard in the end zone. Same with Rapp. Let's get some guys 6 points on the board.
I love it. Do we want to... Are you officially calling for a Kobe Howard touchdown and I'm calling for an Andrew Rappleyea one?
Yeah, let me look into the camera. This Saturday against FIU, Kobe Howard is going to score a touchdown. You can book it right here as heard first on the Trading Twos Penn State podcast. All right, you can clip that.
Clip that. And Andrew Rappleyea will score a touchdown. And if he does, I'm going to tweet I know ball from our Twitter account with the touchdown. And we'll do the same with Kobe Howard. I like both of those, by the way. They both might. And in that case, what we'll do.
Everyone would have to subscribe.
Oh, no. I feel so bad.
Oh, also, I said on the first episode when we hit 10 subscribers, I'm buying a microphone. That happened immediately, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm pushing it off. I'm pushing it off to 100.
Riverside works great. So until Riverside fails us, knock on wood, we're in no rush.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, shout
out the MacBook Pro microphone.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, I think we've talked a lot about freshmen. We've talked about FIU. We got mad about Adidas. Before we finish up here, I want to ask any other takes around this weekend or this last weekend, what you're thinking about in the college football world. Did you sit down this past weekend? Do you plan to this weekend? Do you plan to talk to your family for 13 minutes and then go to your basement and get in your boxers and watch college football and not get bothered? Is that like on your agenda or no?
I'm between that and kind of just not watching college football at all. No, man. I mean, I love that James is insane. I mean, you want your head coach to be insane, right? Like he's, but also the way he said that was so, I think, relatable to a lot of people. Like I was down the shore last weekend in Ocean City, I did not go to the beach. I literally just sat and decided to watch football all day on Saturday, and then at sunset I like looked outside, which I felt like shit about, but like I don't know. First weekend back, Lee Corso's retirement, so yeah, I don't know if that's going to be on my agenda for this weekend, just because of how sluggish I felt last weekend. I think this might just be a watch the FIU game and then maybe get some fresh air situation. Um, what about you? Are you gonna ignore your loved ones?
No, I think I think Charlie, my younger brother, is going to come into the city. We'll both get in our boxes. No, I'm just kidding. He is coming into the city, but we'll probably watch in a public setting. We'll watch the Penn State game, maybe at a bar. No, but just on that point, the way James said it, like it was really, really relatable. Like, yeah, I'll talk to my family for like 13 minutes because I don't want to be a jerk. Like, I'll feel bad.
13 minutes is a lot, dude.
I know, 13
Honestly,
minutes is a long time. You can like check in on people, ask how work is, ask how like their significant other is. He could. That's fine. That's plenty of time.
13 minutes is more than enough to deserve like boxer time, especially after you just coached a football game.
Yeah, dude. Fumi's giving him a break on that. No, I really like that clip, though. I think we clipped it on Twitter, and it is very relatable. In terms of the rest of the college football world, I know you had some thoughts on what happened Sunday night.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Notre Dame game. It's a damn shame they lost.
It sucks.
Dude, watching that game in that stadium with like those gold helmets, it was like something about the way that like the saturation or the color balance of the camera works in Hard Rock. Like I felt like I was watching Penn State and Notre Dame highlights. Um, yeah, obviously they lost that game last year and then still made it to the national championship. So like I'm not calling them dead yet. This was obviously a much harder team than who did they lose to last year? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it.
They lost to Northern Illinois.
Oh, okay.
The same weekend, Penn State almost lost to Bowling Green, and I watched that. I watched Notre Dame lose at the Nittany Lion Inn, and it was awesome.
Yeah, my takeaway from that though, a lot of people were poking fun at Jalen Seider after that because he obviously left Penn State and went to Notre Dame to be the running back coach. I thought that was a little lame. I mean, he was with Penn State for such a long time and was one of James's guys, and obviously kind of just wanted a fresh start. And I don't think you can necessarily blame him for that or wish ill will upon him. People were kind of blaming Jeremiah Love's absence in that game on him, and it's like, well, also Singleton and Allen didn't have the biggest days against Nevada, so it's kind of like a stones, glass houses, etc. situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, here's what I'll say. In terms of Notre Dame people that I don't like because of their Notre Dame-ness, I'll put Rudy at like 1. I'll put Lou Holtz at like 2. Brady Quinn is in there. Jalen Seider is very low on my list. I think people were upset. I think James kind of hinted at this. People were upset about the cadence of how he left and like how he may have handled it. But I've got nothing but good things to say about Jalen Seider. Honestly, maybe that might be a stretch. I'm annoyed he left, but he did a lot of good things for Penn State. I think he was a good coach. It seems like he still has a great relationship with Nick and with Katron Allen. They also still stayed at Penn State, so I don't think he was like the deciding factor in their success. They still stayed after he left. Anyway, yeah, agreed. People were kind of like dunking on him. I was like, I don't know. There's plenty of Notre Dame people that dunk on Seider, as I said.
Is he above or below Shane Gillis on your list of most hated Notre Dame people?
He's below Shane Gillis. I love Shane Gillis, but like, why are you a Notre Dame fan, dude?
Bro, he's from Mechanicsburg. Everyone from Mechanicsburg's a Notre Dame fan.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very negative. Well, I'm feeling annoyed today. I felt a little feisty about the naming rights stuff and whatever. But yeah, no.
Yeah, and it's also like,
sorry, go ahead.
The whole coaching business, especially in college football, is kind of dirty work. Like, especially with the Jim Knowles thing coming to Penn State. Like, no one knows the exact reason Seider left. It could have been a personal reason that like wasn't reported. So, I don't know. Maybe he just loves South Bend, but I don't know. That shouldn't, like, the first take should be like, get fucked Notre Dame, not like get fucked Jalen Seider, in my opinion.
Totally. I think it's like it's just kind of weird. So I think it's like kind of a non-thing. Like we don't Seider. It's not a Seider rivalry.
There's a crazy thing going on between Penn State and Notre Dame fans on Twitter, and to be honest with you, I don't want to be part of it at this time. Except for the tweet we put out on on Sunday.
Just back and forth. It does seem like there's some hatred there, which I like.
I think the whole missing on Joey O'Brien thing for Penn State and recruiting kind of ramped it up a little bit. But actually, it's great that rivalry is back. Penn State Notre Dame. It's such a classic thing, and I think the game last year ignited that. I think Penn State would have loved to see Notre Dame in the playoff again, and I think Penn State fans would love to see Notre Dame fans again in the playoff.
Believe I actually have that happening in my prediction. Yeah, I do. I have Penn State beating Notre Dame in the quarterfinals. If you trust me, and I know a lot about college football, then that's what's going to happen. So Penn State's going to run in the touchdown Jesus in the quarterfinals again. All right, well, I think that was a lot of what we wanted to talk about, Ryan. In terms of other stuff this weekend that I'd call out from a Penn State Big Ten perspective, good luck to Manny Diaz against Illinois this weekend. Actually, kind of a big game. He's been pretty good at Duke. He has not been bad, and that would be a cool upset for him down there in Chapel or wherever Duke is.
Duke. He's kind of leading the charge on the Duke UNC rivalry.
Yeah, true. That too, honestly. Yeah, shout out Bill Belichick. Yeah, man, I think, honestly, I think that's everything I wanted to hit on from the world of college football perspective, talk through Notre Dame, and a lot to watch in Penn State FIU this weekend. But if that's it, I think that's a good place to close things out this week.
Yeah. So that was our FIU among other various topics preview. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. We really appreciate the support we've gotten so far. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you rate us 5 stars and follow the pod. If you're listening on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to our channel, hit that bell, etc., like, comment, subscribe, etc. Thanks for the support, and we'll see you this weekend for an FIU recap.
Thanks, guys.